time is 7:30, so I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, September 8th, 2025 to order. We do have a quorum. All members are present. We're going to start tonight with an invocation to be given by former council member Bobby Howard.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we gather tonight in your most holy name, thankful for the blessing of community and the privilege of living here in Snellville. Thank you for neighbors who care deeply, for leaders who have stepped forward to serve, and for the opportunity we have tonight to come together and discuss matters that shape the future of our city. Lord, you know tonight's meeting's discussions may be difficult and that strong opinions may be expressed. We ask for your presence to fill this chamber with peace, calm our hearts, guide our words, help us to listen with respect and humility. Grant our council members wisdom, patience, and courage as they lead, that their decisions would honor you and bless the people they serve. Father, we also lift up those who serve and protect our community each day, our police officers, firefighters, first responders, and city staff. Strengthen them, watch over them, and bless them for their dedication and sacrifice. And Lord, remind us that while we all may not always agree, we are still one community and one family under you. Help us seek the good of all, to treat one another with kindness, to build a city marked by compassion, justice, and hope. We pray all this in the precious name of Jesus Christ, and all God's people said, amen.
Thank you, Bobby. And now for those who are able, if you'll stand for the pledge to be led by Gretchen Schultz. Thank you. We have nothing under ceremonial matters tonight, so we'll move to the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the August 25th, 2025 millage rate public hearings and the August 25th, 2025 regular meetings.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We have no invited guests tonight or committee or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda, September 8th, 2025, as published.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
With a motion to approve and a second, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We'll move to the public hearing. We have one item under the public hearing. We have second reading RZ 25-05. First, I'm going to read some instruction on the public hearing tonight. In order to help everyone to have an equal opportunity to be heard and minimize distractions, I ask the audience to please silence or turn off any electronic communication devices. I would like to remind everyone present that this is an official public meeting at which important business is conducted, and it is a legal process. The city attorney has advised the council that audience outbursts, including applause, have been used by the courts to overturn zoning decisions. Therefore, I ask that you refrain from applause and any other extraneous remarks. Each side will be allowed a total of 15 minutes for support and 15 minutes for opposition. This is not per person, but total, so you may wish to consider coordinating your arguments beforehand or consider having a spokesperson present your position. If council members ask questions of you, it will not be deducted from your time. Should you have the opportunity to come to the microphone to make a comment in support or in opposition to any of the requests before us, please state your name and address for the public record before beginning. Also, you will only be given one opportunity to speak. Please also direct all of your comments to myself and the council and not to the applicant or another speaker. The way our process normally goes is Mr. Thompson, our planning director, will introduce the case. The council will then have an opportunity to ask Mr. Thompson questions. Then we will ask if the applicant would like to come forward, and they will be given 15 minutes to present their case. The council members may also ask them questions about the application. After that time, I will open the floor to public comment. I will ask first for anyone speaking in support to come forward, and then I will close that part, and then we'll have anyone that would like to speak in opposition. Again, there's 15 minutes allowed for support and 15 minutes allowed for opposition. And that's in total, not per person, so please be mindful if there's others that would like to speak. Okay, so let me read the title of the zoning, and then we'll turn it to Mr. Thompson. It's second reading, RZ 25-05, consideration and action on application by DeThomas Investments LLC, the applicant, and Tree Lane Development LLC, the property owner, requesting to amend the official zoning map from BG General Business District to RTH Townhouse Residential District, and variances from the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance for 108-unit single-family attached townhome development on a 15.0137 acre site with a gross density of 7.19 units per acre, located on Tree Lane at 1719 Scenic Highway, that's SR 124 North, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5056003. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council and public, for being here tonight. We have one case in the public hearing tonight. As the mayor already kind of went through the basics, I'll cover them once again to get them into the record as well. We have case number RZ 25-05, which is a request for rezoning and variances at a location of 1719 Scenic Highway, with a landmark being of 12 Stone Church, which is directly east, and that property abuts 124, the 12 Stone Church. 15 acres, tax parcel 5056-003, with a current zoning of BG, or general business, as our standard commercial district, with a requested zoning of RTH, which is our townhome residential district. It is currently indicated on the future land use plan as a health village, where RTH is an appropriate district within that future land use plan. 108 units over 15 acres is approximately 7.2 units per acre. The property owner is Tree Lane Development LLC. The applicant is DeThomas Investments, who is represented here today by Jack Wilson. Basically, this is located directly behind 12 Stone on Tree Lane. It's 250 feet west of Highway 124 and 1,300 feet north of the Piedmont East Side Hospital. The site is adjacent to a 15-acre undeveloped tract to the north, 12 Stone campus to the east, and several single-family detached residential properties in the Waterford Township subdivision in unincorporated Gwinnett County that are zoned R100 to the west. The south is the Sheridan at East Side senior living community, which is zoned residential for older persons, and then a regional stormwater pond, which you can see here, zoned RO and RS15. Again, the applicant is requesting to rezone, also requesting 6 variances, and I'll go through those specifically a little bit here in a minute. So the comprehensive plan does designate that area as a health village, On the future land use map, in the Health Village future land use category is described as areas anchored by healthcare facilities and integrated with supported services such as medical office, senior living, multifamily residences, or neighborhood services and shopping. They are located in the existing character area of the scenic Highway North character area, with predominant land uses being commercial, retail, office, professional, and health vision. Some of the key implementation strategies is to redevelop, consolidate, and also service as transitional zonings between the heavy commercial uses on 124 back to some of the more less intense uses of residential located behind the hospital property. We'll talk about the site plan. One more thing. There's 4 basic tenets of the comprehensive land use plans. I don't know what you call them, land use, each little land use directives. One is to encourage compatibility of uses, both residential and commercial, and the utilization of transitional zones and buffers between residential and non-residential development. You'll see heavy commercial, medium density housing, and then single family, currently would be single family residential behind it. Encourage the construction of housing to support all age groups, incomes, and lifestyles. And goal 3 in housing, encourage the development of a diversity of housing types. And housing goal 3.3, encourage medium density residential development to serve as a transitional use between higher intensity commercial and mixed use nodes and low density residential neighborhoods. We'll just do a little site plan analysis now. We have 108 units, 1 through 61 and 93 through 108 being rear entry. With I know there's a little glare there. Let's see. With the front yards in the front being grassed areas that are shared by four different housing pods. There's also a few homes in the north that are actually front entry, just by the design of the or the way the lots lay out. There's really no way to get that rear entry there. You can see the proposed driveways and entrances here off of Tree Lane. This is a one-way street. I believe it's 2 lanes here, and then kind of condenses down to 1. Right currently it's a right in and right out. We would travel further south here. It's these are private drives, or it would be private streets designed to public street standards. Should be gated with no public access. You can see the typical lot layouts, which are standard for that type of development. There's also should be some sidewalks that connect both areas as well, so they can use the green space existing that's being proposed. Show you a little bit of the, let me find some standard architectural types that you might find in there. Been some conditions added to deal with the different facades as they present regarding front doors and even garage doors. That requires a plan book approval and alternate type facades so that they don't repeat themselves and become just one kind of look, which sometimes happens with townhomes if they're not designed correctly. Let's talk about variances real quick. The biggest, the one that requires most explanation is there's a requirement in the code that requires interparcel vehicle connectivity to the undeveloped parcel to the north. And because that gets a little sticky, we don't typically talk about other properties that aren't related to the rezoning, but in this case, I believe it's appropriate because there's some concern that we've heard that they're worried that interparcel access at some point, or there's some kind of plan to drive traffic onto Ensfield Road, which is the neighboring residential road to the west. And just kind of put those concerns to rest. This is a current agreement between the city of Snellville and the property owners of the actual where the Best Buy is now located. And the areas in yellow are basically no build, no disturbed. no anything. You can't cut a tree down. All you can do is maintain those sewer lines, which you see there with the dots connect to the strings. And then the orange is actually an easement or a piece of property that provides access to Snellville, which is completely blocked off from any kind of development. So under this current recorded covenant with Gwinnett County, where Snellville, the property owner, are both party to the easements, easement cannot be removed without mayor and council approval. So considering it's private streets, there's really nothing to access to the north. If I was a private street and there was some future commercial to the north, I wouldn't want them going through my gated neighborhood either, so we feel like that's appropriate here. They've requested also to be allowed to have a dead end, more like hammerhead turnarounds instead of a cul-de-sac, to give them a little more room on the buffer. Just given some of the issues we've had in the past with those, we've recommended denial of that variance, just because it's become something we've seen pretty standard in our most recent rezonings here. Ultimately, you're probably only going to get a few cars turning around there. Cul-de-sacs are typically, make that easier. So we've recommended denial. Number 3, if you'll notice here, typically from the side of the line is typically a 50-foot setback. They're basically asking to waive that because of the existing right-of-way that exists on Tree Lane is much more than 50 feet and serves as that site setback and buffer to the south. And we agree that there's really no need for an additional site setback with that much cultivated existing vegetation there, that they're not allowed to touch. So that's actually county property. Number 4 is just a design standards from RTH for the townhomes that are located from here to here, is to be requesting to vary from the front or rear entry requirement, just because it's not feasible to put another road on the back side of those homes. So while most do meet the code for rear entry and then a front yard, those do not. But given their circumstances of the property and how very few lots it is towards the rear, we recommend approval for that variance. Number 6 is to increase the maximum front yard area for driveways, and this is one of our small building residential standards that doesn't always line up with townhomes, just because typically the driveways are always going to take up a larger portion. It's more appropriate for single family detached residential, and next code revision will actually exempt, we'll put some kind of guidance inside the code that will regulate that, so it's not considered in the same class. And the last request is, instead of hard stops here with stop signs, in order to make for a kind of an easier transition, less hammerheads, they've requested to allow the turning radius to exist as it is there. And we agree that that should do plenty. Just that slow turn will slow people down. And I do believe that Gwinnett County Fire and everybody, as far as safety, has signed off on it, or will have to sign off on it regardless, before we can permit it if approved. So with those things in mind, we've recommended approval of the rezoning, approval of the variance, all the variances except this one, and then we've also recommended some conditions. Let me find those bad boys. And I'll read those off. Let me grab them. I left them. Okay, I'll read them right into the record so we have them. Number one, the property shall be developed in accordance with the colored rezoning site plan entitled Layout A Conceptual Site Plan 1719 Scenic Highway, dated August 26th, stamped received August 27th, with modifications permitted to meet the conditions of other regulating authorities and substantial variation from the rezoning site plan as determined by the Director of Planning Development will require Mayor and Council approval. Number two, a mandatory homeowners association shall be formed. Number three, there shall be a 25-foot undisturbed buffer around that side, and to also be replanted where sparsely vegetated or disturbed as approved by the Director of Planning and Development. And number four, in lieu of sidewalks required by the code on both sides of Street A and B, I'm going to have them have one contingent sidewalk that goes all the way back that everyone can use instead of, or duplicating them on both sides, not necessary. And we go on to name the exact lots where it needs to be so that the expectations are clear. Some other concerns with development in Snellville on these legacy properties that have, the last ones to be developed has always been blasting. So we've added some more stringent conditions for the applicant or developer shall comply to the Georgia Blasting Standards Act, including a pre-blast and post-blast surveys for any structure within 750 feet of the blast site or directly adjacent to the subject property with advance notice to any affected property owner. The applicant will provide advance notice of any blasting to the following HOAs, and we go ahead and name them. And before blasting work begins, a blasting notification plan must be reviewed and approved by the Planning and Development Department. Said plan shall include signage, email notification, and any other notification deemed necessary. Standard number 6, no uses involving adult entertainment. Number 7, no signs higher than 15 feet and larger than 225 square feet. Here's a few extras we added after hearing some concerns about architecture. Units 1 through 12, 61 through 72, 101 through 8 shall provide architectural treatments on the roadside facing of each unit to provide variation in elevations and avoid monotony. That's these. And the applicant developer shall provide a minimum of 4 different front doors throughout the project, alternating 4 different elevations and finishes for garage doors. Any garage shall not be converted to any other use as an additional living room or bedroom. No townhome shall be altered after construction as to add any bedroom or bathroom without getting proper permitting approval from the City of Snellville. And all internal streets, alleys, and stormwater management facilities shall be privately owned and maintained by the formed property owners association. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions of council for Mr. Thompson?
I don't have a question. I just want to take a moment to commend you and your staff for your case analysis and
Thank you.
the information that you've provided us so we can clearly see some of the changes that have been made.
It'd be amiss
Thank
not
you.
to pass that on to Mr. John Dennis, the zoning administrator, is the brains behind most of this, so thank you.
Anyone with questions for Mr. Thompson? Just one,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thompson, if I may, just to clarify, I know at the last meeting where we were going to do our public hearing, we had been submitted, or the applicant had submitted another plan that showed public streets to allow for some internal bus stops, and that is not in consideration for tonight.
That's correct. The bus, from what I understand, and I'm not a microtransit authority, is that these buses can typically also access to individual homes and pick them up the front door. If there needed to be a public, a public pickup, it could be outside the gate. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but having the two felt like it was more appropriate for the development to maintain its private roads and security to kind of boost the appeal of it than allowing to kind of put it in there with just the transit stops, which we believe we can accomplish without those benches. So we recommend that back to the developer, and they agreed, so they resubmitted. which is pretty much the original
The
plan.
original plan.
Yeah, it was just a pivot from the plan that we received that kind of required us the extra time, and then after speaking about it, this is what kind of came back to the original plan.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. No other questions or comments for council? Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant here? Mr. Wilson, you'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name's Jack Wilson. My address is 295 Culver Street in Lawrenceville. I represent the applicant, Ronnie DeThomas Investments. Mr. DeThomas is with me here tonight. Ronnie's worked in the city of Snellville for many years, several different projects. He's responsible for developing the Park Place commercial subdivision development across on the other side of Scenic Highway. He's also responsible for the Scenic Point commercial development on Highway 124 to the north, and he still owns the Hampton Inn, so he's an active business owner and member of the community here. This is, as you heard, a vacant 15-acre parcel on the northwestern edge of the city limits. This is, I think, a legacy property is a good way to describe it. It's one of the last larger acreage undeveloped tracts inside the city limits, and it's currently zoned BG. We think that's significant, and I wanted to take a minute at the beginning to sort of recount some of the history of this property and tell you why we believe BG is really not an appropriate zoning or land use for this property moving forward. The history of the property, I think you heard a little bit about this in your public comments last time, but this was originally considered to be an expansion area for 12 Stone. After COVID, some of those plans were reconsidered. The LLC that owns this property is actually controlled by the Wesleyan Investment Foundation, which takes donations, holds, manages investments for church-related uses. They're really not a land bank, so their interest is in selling this property to raise funds to carry out their public mission. They considered two proposals to purchase this property. One was from a national developer who wanted to put in a townhouse project that would have been all rental, no fee ownership. And the foundation didn't like that. Obviously, that's at odds with the city's ordinances and UDO. They recognized that. Mr. Thomas also made a proposal, the proposal that you see before you tonight, which would be fee-owned, individually owned units in compliance with your zoning ordinance. I mentioned BG, and I sort of informally surveyed your UDO for BG uses that could be made of this property tomorrow. And here are some of those: a cell tower, a halfway house, a utility substation, electric substation, a pool hall, a gun range, a batting cage, a CBD store, a convenience store, tanning salon, coin laundry, nail service, animal boarding or animal grooming, and the list goes on. Those are all uses that are permitted as a matter of right under BG with no rezoning, no special use permit, no hearing, and no public input at all. And any of those uses could be made of this property immediately. Obviously, that's not what Mr. DeThomas wants, and we don't believe that would be in the best interest of the city or the community, which is why he's put forward this proposal for townhomes. I would stress that this is a down zoning. We're moving from a higher, more intense commercial zoning classification to a less intense residential classification. And both the density and the unit count that you see on the screen there meets the requirements of the UDO. The applicant requested and paid for a traffic analysis. It's a very limited study. It's not a full-blown traffic study with traffic counts and that kind of thing, but it does illustrate that a residential development like this would generate significantly fewer trips than a commercial BG use, and we think that's relevant to the analysis tonight. There is a stream through the center of the property that you see there that helps it break naturally into two pods. in terms of meeting the requirements of the code, we're providing significantly more green space and open space than is required by your UDO. This plan shows 7 acres approximately, roughly 46% of the total acreage. There are a number of little pocket parks and lawns between the units that you see there. We also provide 39 off-site parking spaces in addition to the, obviously the driveway and the garage spaces. I would stress that there is no connectivity proposed to any other parcel. And that's the reason for one of the variances that we asked for. As we understand it, your code has a provision that requires inter-parcel access. So to technically comply, we would be expected to have inter-parcel access to another property. We understand from our neighbors in Bridgewater to the north and to the west, I understand their subdivisions outside the city limits, but there was a very strong concern expressed that we not have access to Inns Fall Drive, which ties into Bridgewater to the north, and we're in perfect agreement with that. And that's the reason we asked for that variance, just to document and memorialize that we're not complying with the code, but there's a sound reason we're not complying with the code, and that's to satisfy the request of our neighbors and also ourselves. We don't have any desire or need to have interparcel access to through the property to the north to Inns Fall. We don't want it, and that's the reason we asked for that variance, just so your action and the conditions would show that very clearly. Our only point of access is Tree Lane, and we've had several questions come up about Tree Lane and accessibility to Tree Lane, the future of Tree Lane. Unfortunately, we don't have any direct control over the configuration of Tree Lane. We have access there as a matter of right, but we can't dictate to the county that they change the configuration or treat it any differently. Obviously, to exit, our residents are going to turn to the right and proceed to the west and the south. We think most of them to Ronald Reagan, but if they have to Presidential and then turn and come back around, that's something that we really can't change or alter or modify. As Mr. Thompson pointed out, we are consistent with your comprehensive plan and your long-range plan. We hope that this will be marketed to maybe folks who work at the hospital or who otherwise work nearby in Snellville. Given the land costs, the development costs, materials costs, we expect these townhomes will sell in the high $500,000 to $600,000, and we think that would contribute significantly to the tax base and provide a quality element that would make these valuable. We also submit respectfully that we're less impactful to the environment, both than a commercial development would be and than current conditions allow. We've had some emails and heard some concerns from downstream property owners about the status of the lake downstream and potential contribution of stormwater to issues downstream. I just stress that currently there are no drainage improvements on this property that we're aware of, and everything that comes to and from it passes directly through. There's no stormwater management, there's no stormwater control. The current flow is totally unregulated and unmanaged. If approved, the drainage improvements that your code requires, that state law requires, would be installed so that the post-development flows cannot exceed the pre-development conditions. So really what the infrastructure installed here would do would be to reduce the peak flow that leaves this site once it's developed and reduce the rate and velocity through which water passes through, and we believe that would present benefits to our downstream neighbors and improve the current conditions that we've heard about. Just a brief word on a couple of the other variances. On the top left of the drawing, there is that hammerhead proposed endpoint. We've asked that you allow that configuration and eliminate the cul-de-sac that's required by your UDO. We think a cul-de-sac could encourage gathering and other activities in the back of the subdivision that may not be desirable. That hammerhead configuration has been vetted by Gwinnett County Fire, and they tell us it's acceptable to them. They don't require a cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac obviously is going to be a larger footprint. It's going to eat into the green space a little bit, and it's going to limit our ability to provide some additional buffer in the rear. So that's why we've asked for that change. There are front entry lots on the top left-hand side that you see there. Lots 73 to 92, that's 20 units that we asked to have front entry just because of the configuration there. There's just not room to allow rear entry. That's only about 18% of the overall number of units, and we've applied for that variance and a corresponding allowance for driveways. And then Mr. Thompson also mentioned the variance related to the road curvatures, the street curvatures, and those are on the right-hand side at the top where you go north and then curve to the left around, I think that's unit number 12, and then down again, I think that's unit 61. We've asked for a variance there to allow those turn radiuses as shown on the plan, and again, Gwinnett County Fire says those are acceptable. We're in agreement with all of the proposed conditions of zoning, including the new conditions that have been added, and we would respectfully request your approval with staff conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions and would like to reserve the balance of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Are there any questions of the council for Mr. Wilson?
After you.
Mr.
Yes,
Carter.
Mr. Wilson, 2 questions. Number 1, about the hammerhead. What are the dimensions of that? And is a ladder truck, does that have the ability to come in and make it without backing up and make a turn to come out?
To answer the second question, yes. I mean, it does have that capability for public safety to enter and exit, and as I mentioned, Gwinnett County Fire says it's acceptable to them. The right-of-way is 50 feet, and I think the pavement width is 31. I may need to zoom in to be sure, but
Okay.
that's what it looks like to me.
Okay. My second question is, you mentioned that under the zoning, that it's possible to put a commercial property in that location. Have you done a comparison between the maximum vehicle traffic from a commercial to what we have here with the 108 unit?
In summary fashion, yes.
Yes.
And it changes by approximately 160 vehicle trips a day. And that's what we submitted with the other documents that we submitted in our amendment. But there's a significant difference.
Mayor Pro Tem Warner?
Yes, Mr. Wilson, you said at the end of your statement that you hope for approval with the conditions in the staff report. Did you mean to say with the exception of granting variance 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that, Mr.
2, 3.
The one about the,
Hammerhead.
yes, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure we were all on the record clear.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And now I will open the floor to public comment. This is a public hearing, so I will first call for anyone in support of this project. Please step forward and provide your name and address for the record.
Excuse me, can I ask a question concerning clarification of the site plan?
No, ma'am. We're in, I'm sorry. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of the project? Seeing none, then I will close the floor to anyone speaking in support and open the floor to anyone who would like to make a comment in opposition. Just remember, there is 15 minutes total Please step forward, give your name and address for the record.
Madam Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you. My name is Drew Williams. I am the Executive Director of the Sheridan at Eastside Senior Living Community that is adjacent to the property here, and I'm speaking in opposition of this proposal. Primarily for two reasons: concern about increased traffic congestion and public safety. If anyone is familiar with this area of Highway 124, Tree Lane, Presidential Circle, and Ronald Reagan, you are aware that there is a significant amount of congestion. When I leave our property in the evenings, I am so grateful that I do not have to turn left on Ronald Reagan, because there's often 10 to 12 cars waiting to turn left onto Ronald Reagan Parkway. They can't get onto it because of the congestion. There's nowhere, the light will turn green, there's nowhere for them to go. Additionally, I can't imagine that adding a gate to the entrance at this property is going to do anything except exacerbate the congestion that's on the other end of this intersection, which is Tree Lane and Highway 124. The address of this property is 1719 Scenic Highway, but the property has zero access to Scenic Highway. The only exit of egress from this property is right onto Tree Lane, which is one way at that point, and that will lead all of that traffic, potentially 600 to 1,000 cars a day. I have not seen any official traffic study, but if there's 6 to 10 trips per residence per day, between 600 and 1,000 additional cars on a one-way street passing passing our gate, our driveway, and ultimately up to a three-way stop, which is in front of the hospital, Piedmont Eastside Hospital, which is also the entrance to the emergency room. So I'm concerned, number one, for the safety of my residents exiting our property. Cars don't necessarily drive 35 miles an hour on that stretch of Tree Lane. I represent about 250 senior residents. Their average age is about 84 years old. So I'm concerned for safety, public safety, increased congestion, and I would respectfully ask that you please follow the recommendation of your planning board and deny this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. As I stated in the initial comments, applause can give a court grounds for overturning any decision that's made by this body. I ask that you please withhold all applause and any extraneous remarks. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kat Hardrick, 2280 Buckley Trail, and I respectfully ask that you deny, because similar to what the gentleman just said, but also regards to the school buses being able to turn around and come in there. Regarding stormwater runoff is not happening now because we have trees and so forth, but once the trees go away, what type of system are we going to have in place in that? What type of protection are we going to have for legacy residents from the blast and the damages that they may incur as a result of the blasting to get the property underway? In addition to that, I want to just make a point of record. I want to also just make one statement with regard to this violates residents' rights as homeowners. Every resident in this area, it violates each resident's rights as homeowners. And I just want to make a point of record that Mr. DeThomas made a contribution to sitting council members. This is $2,500 to Councilwoman Carrie Hetherington. And then this is a financial contribution of $1,000 to Mr. Norman Carter, and this is a second $2,500 donation to Mr. Norman Carter, and all of that information can be found at the city's website, or if you were to go to the Ethics Commission with the state of Georgia. And I also just ask that you deny this and follow the Planning Commission's recommendation. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Marlene Tillman. I'm at 1977 Tanglewood Drive. Please deny the development on Tree Lane. Our streets and schools are far too overcrowded already. Brookwood High School, which is where this would feed into, has over 4,000 students enrolled. Needless to say, the building can't handle the current capacity, let alone an additional, which means more trailers, which everyone does not like. All of the schools in that attendance zone are already overcrowded as well. There was nothing submitted to relieve the current traffic congestion that happens there. And so I doubt any additional traffic is going to be accounted for, except that we sit and wait. I urge you to vote no for this development, and at the very least, for those who received contributions from this developer, should recuse themselves from the vote. Thank you.
Mary Bender, City Council members, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. My name is Phyllis Wolf, and I live in 1900 Tree Lane, Villa 22, in the Sheraton development. My concern I wish to address is safety. There is already a lot of busyness on that road. There's only one way for the residents of this development to get out. 216 cars additional for sure, I would think. 3 school buses, possibly 4 if there are special need buses. One way out. You have to go right by the hospital entrance, which is a 4-way stop, right there, not far from the ER. We've lived there 2 years. I've seen many accidents at that 4-way stop. I just can't imagine school buses and at least 216 more cars going that way, twice a day for sure for the buses. When we came to the first meeting with the zoning committee, a point was made that retail does not want to go there. Medical, excuse me, my throat's getting dry. Medical buildings would be okay, attorneys would be okay. Safety, getting to the ER, getting to the hospital. And thank you.
Mayor and Council. I'm Joe Anderson, former councilman, 2289 Glenmore Lane. I want to thank Jason and John for their hard work on this. Jason, will this pick up a picture? Okay. As oh, I got you. But right there. One of the most valuable lessons I learned as a city councilman was from Chief Davis was the 3 B's of public speaking: be brief, be funny, and be seated. I will try to hit the highlights from my missive sent last Thursday, which I request be entered into the record. A potentially flawed traffic assessment memo was submitted after the Planning Commission wisely advised council to deny the zoning based on traffic issues. Does anyone believe that micro transit will actually reduce trips in the transportation system generated by the proposed development? And is it medical office or even self-storage a more viable alternative use that would better serve the community? It certainly seems a more probable use than club retailer in the traffic memo that no one seems to think will work. However, it would result in a lower comparative traffic generation, and that was the point of that little exercise. With a gated community, the school buses, did Brett buy this? With a gated community, the school bus will pick up on Tree Lane. I'm not sure they can make those tight 90-degree turns on 31-foot streets anyway, but here's the rub. Tree Lane is the main entrance road from the north side of Snellville to the Piedmont East Side Hospital. When seconds count, your citizens' ambulances may have to wait a few minutes. What's your risk tolerance on that? You know, Walmart, all those traffic generators are up there, and there's a lot of accidents up there, and, you know, people have heart attacks in places like that when they see those low prices, right? I urge the mayor and city council to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens and heed your planning commission's sage advice. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention.
He's donated it to us.
I've donated it. It's kind of old. Well, that was a picture of a microbus that I saw on the way here in front of the Target, completely empty at 6:59 this evening. Just happened to see it.
Thank you. There's 4 minutes remaining.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Burke. My husband and I are owners of this parcel right here, directly south of the proposed townhome development. We live at 1450 Lakeshore Drive, Snellville. We oppose this rezoning request. On the property directly behind our house, there are extreme stream and watershed issues. I do have a recording on my phone taken a few weeks ago during a rainstorm which shows an otherwise dry ditch turned into a fast-flowing stream at the edge of our property, continuing into our neighbor's property and across their driveway, which has caused significant erosion on their driveway. This land is much better suited to development of a passive park for enjoyment of all Snellville residents, rather than the proposed townhome development. We also have other specific concerns and questions which were previously raised that the applicant has still not addressed. As we've been hearing, the traffic on Tree Lane and Scenic Highway will certainly increase. On a recent afternoon, it took 20 minutes to drive the 1 mile south on Scenic Highway between Janmar and Ronald Reagan Parkway. This photo was taken at the intersection of Tree Lane and Scenic Highway. Many of these cars do turn right to bypass all this congestion along Tree Lane. Secondly, in the letter of intent, it was proposed to be a gated community with property owner-controlled amenities and private streets. As an adjacent homeowner, I'd like to know what type of gate and fencing will surround this. That hasn't been addressed. Also, instead of a 25-foot undisturbed buffer, where the development abuts our residential properties, we would like a 40-foot buffer. Third, one of the conditions of approval is formation of a mandatory HOA with a rental cap of 10% of the lots. What laws are in place to enforce such a requirement? As we know, most townhomes eventually turn into rental properties and HOAs go defunct. Thank you for your time and consideration of our concerns. Please follow the recommendation of your planning commission to deny this rezoning request. And I do want to make one more point. Since this conceptual plan is on the record, there's some errors on it. You've noticed this along here, it's 1 through 5, and that starts over again at 1 and 2. So that will have to be updated if you go forward with this. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. There's less than a minute.
I'll be quick. All right, my name's Cameron Hall. I live at 1962 Sumter Court.
Not really one mention, I want to deny this, by the way. Not one real mention about schools and the impacts. I used to coach and teach in Gwinnett County Public Schools, coached for about 7 years over at Brookwood, taught as well, taught in elementary schools, and also helped in Brookwood. So I finally got out of teaching because of the constant loosening of how many kids were in a classroom for a teacher. It was ridiculous. The ask on teachers became too much. And we see all this type of stuff when we see money, but we really don't understand what then kind of follows when we start doing this. I've lived here for I'm 35. I've lived here basically my whole life. I got 3 degrees. Lived here my whole entire life. My dad still lives in the same house in Flowers Crossing, the very first house that was ever put in that neighborhood, and we all know that's a big neighborhood. I came back, also joined him. I live right down the street from him. And at the end of the day, I see the rezoning. I know Flowers Crossing is always on the line. And so for me, I get frustrated when stuff like this comes up just because of the fact that we look at neighboring schools or areas. We got Discovery, we've got Central. Those do not have bad.
We are out of time, so if you can wrap up. I'm sorry.
We do not, those are not bad schools, not bad kids. Those are great teachers. The problem is what ends up happening is we end up allowing for apartments and townhomes to overrun our schools. Then what ends up happening, we end up having we have schools that start to plummet, then we have values of our home values start to plummet, which is money out of our pockets that I've been here for my whole life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so I will close the floor for the opposition comments, having exceeded the 15-minute mark. And now, no, sir. No, sir. We are. Sir, we have exceeded 15 minutes on the opposition, and that is the way the zoning hearing works. Please, sir. Okay, we have closed the public hearing portion, so I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
I'm sorry.
Do I have any time left for rebuttal?
You do. You have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left for rebuttal.
All right. Thank you very much. Just to address a few of the concerns that were expressed, campaign contributions, those are entirely lawful and proper. They were undertaken and made in accordance with state law. They were disclosed in accordance with state law. And there's absolutely no validity to any claim that they are irregular, out of order. There's no requirement that anyone recuse themselves. Those are all legitimate and lawful. With respect to some of the merits, on traffic, as I stressed before, a BG use, which is permitted now, would make more traffic than this use would make. By a factor of approximately 22 more trips in the morning and more than 300 more trips in the afternoon. Something's going to go on this property. It's not going to be vacant forever, and unless the county acquires it or the city acquires it, it's not going to be a park. Somebody is going to purchase this property and somebody's going to develop it. So the question is, what's best? What's best for the community? What's best for Snellville? What's best for the residents on Tree Lane? We submit respectfully that something like this is best, and certainly much better than a more intense, more traffic-intensive commercial development. With respect to some of the other concerns that were expressed, I think the best way I can summarize it is this. Brookwood is a great school, and the Brookwood cluster is a highly desirable place for people to live. And you all and the people who've been here for many years have made Snellville a great place to live. People recognize that, and they want to be here. And when kids go to Brookwood and go away to college and grow up and get a job, they want to move back here so their kids can have the same experience that they had. That's what this project would do. It would provide for a high-quality residential development that would allow an incremental and balanced approach to questions like traffic and school issues, and provide for inclusion in a way that makes Snellville what it is, and continues to make it a vibrant place where people want to be. We submit respectfully, it's much better than a commercial development, than anything else that has been proposed for this location. We'd respectfully ask your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Okay, the applicant's time is up, the opposition time is up, so I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve RZ 25-05 with reference to ordinance 2025-17 with the September 8th version of the staff recommended variances and conditions.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. There is a motion and a second. Discussion by council. Mayor Pro Tem Warner.
May I ask a question for clarification? The drawing we have before us tonight does not show a cul-de-sac at the end. The applicant requested approval of variance, I believe it was number 2. My concern is not knowing how putting a cul-de-sac there is going to affect the adjacent property. So are we going to address that, or we're just going to?
My understanding when I asked the question of staff was that that was the recommendation to put the cul-de-sac in. That is their recommendation, as opposed to the hammerhead. That has been the precedent in other properties and is consistent with actions that we've taken prior to this time.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow on with that clarification, Councilmember Linsky, you're accepting all of the staff variances except for, the staff recommendations on the variances, which is to deny the use of the hammerhead and require the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments or discussions by council? I'll make a few comments on this project. This property does have a long history. It is zoned business general, which, as the applicant's attorney, Mr. Wilson, elaborated on, anything that is currently in our business general zoning can be built on this property without any conversation of any of us. It won't come before council. We don't get a say in it. And as Mr. Wilson said, had mentioned, I also do want to run down just a few of the items that could be built here without any further conversation. An assisted living facility. And anyone who is familiar with the Sheridan at East Side, that is independent, assisted, and memory care. I don't know how many units, but anyone who has been there in the afternoon or early evening, there's a tremendous amount of traffic that comes in and out of that facility. You could have a skilled nursing facility, a nursing home. You could have a community center being built. And then we get into other commercial uses. Adult daycare centers or a daycare center. I'm trying to skip over some of the ones that Mr. Wilson has already mentioned. We could have a roller skating rink, a gym, or a health spa. And of course, any kind of office would be a suitable use there. Anyone who's familiar with all of the traffic on 124 and all of the car trips that those businesses, those retail centers, those office buildings generate a lot of car travel. You can see at Piedmont East Side, they have several medical office buildings that are several stories high, and those parking lots are full every day with workers, plus patients and visitors coming in and out of those businesses all day long. And I say all of that to say, as Mr. Wilson also alluded to, that all of those things can be built without us saying anything. We have, that's the way it's zoned. When we have a zoning like that, anyone can come and pick any one of those items and build on that property. The property owner has made it clear, and actually they've been marketing this property for at least, I would say 5 years, probably longer than that, for a lot of commercial uses. They are going to sell this property. So our difficult decision, especially in view of all of you that are here not wanting to support, not wanting this project here, our difficult decision is weighing out that balance. Do we want to see one of these other commercial uses and all of the traffic that will flow from that? Or do we want to take something that could potentially, and it's proven, as far as developments go, these types of residential communities drive a whole lot less traffic than a commercial development would. I would remind some of you in this room who were here, and I can't remember how long ago it was now, 6 or 7 years ago, that we had an application that came forward for a 300-unit apartment complex. That thankfully did not go through. This is a 108-unit townhome development, which is 1/3 the size of what was being proposed in the past. So I got an email over the weekend that said, just vote no. We don't want anything. The fact is, we can vote no, and you're still going to get something. We don't know what that's going to be, but we know it won't be residential. This property on that back side does back up to single-family residential, and we're sensitive to that. It also will back up to the Sheridan at East Side, which is now residential in a respect, more of an institutional type form of residential. So they're tough decisions. These are not easy. It's not easy to sit here facing all of you with your concerns. Traffic is a concern. 124 is a mess. The state of Georgia is going to be widening 124. That's going to 6 lanes with a divided median from Highway 78 all the way to Sugarloaf Parkway. That is coming. We just don't know when. So there will be some relief on that front. That will be another few years down the road. That tree lane roadway is rather odd. But our problem also becomes when you sit up here and you learn what we can use as basis for approval of or denial of zonings. And you might be surprised to know that traffic is not one of those items. We can't say no to something just because of traffic. And we can't say no to things just because of schools and the impact on schools. Those are not things that we can sit here and say, no, I'm not going to vote on it because of this. A court will overturn that. So again, we're left with the decision of what do we do that makes the best use of this property with the least amount of impact for an already crowded area. A few of the other concerns that were addressed tonight and that have been in a lot of the emails, and Mr. Thompson has already addressed it. Mr. Wilson, I believe, addressed it as well. The stormwater runoff. Every project is mandated federally and by the state to control their water runoff. Once this development, should this be approved, those detention ponds are designed to hold the water and release it slowly. So there should not be a downstream effect. If there is, then that property owner, that development will have to handle that, but that is all engineered. All of the stormwater issues are all vetted through the city and the county according to the state standards. Blasting remediation, as we also did put a condition on this as well for communication. Blasting regulations is done by the state. There is courses of action for anyone who has property damage due to blasting that's happened adjacent to their homes. And again, as Mr., well, I won't go there. So, you know, just again, these are not easy decisions when they get here to us, and we have to weigh out these things, but these are some of the things that we look at and we have to balance out on whether we're going to support a project or not. So with that, any other council members wish to make a comment or discussion or debate? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, you said an awful lot of it, Mayor. One of the things we try to bring to a community is certainty. And as we've seen over the years, a number of different things were proposed here back before the stormwater, or at the time that the Stormwater Act went through, the North Georgia Stormwater Act of 2009. This was actually slated to be a Costco. And everybody was like, oh, we're going to get a Costco. But you can no longer channel water through streams through pipes. So that went away. And I think that's good that it went away, because I don't think any of y'all would have been terribly excited about having a Costco in the back of your yard. We've had the apartments. I can't remember what there have been a number of things that got shot down before they ever made it on an agenda. We work very hard to make sure that even though it may not be what we really want, that we protect the adjacent homeowners and the community as much as possible. In our residential zoning categories, it is 2 years ago we set up separate zoning categories for rental property and for or build to rent developments and residential development. So under any residential townhome, you cannot have more than 10% be rentals. So the question was asked, well, who's going to enforce that? By our ordinances, by our codes, our code enforcement can enforce that now. Also, one of the conditions that we've begun putting in on all of our zonings, and it's in on this, is the garages cannot be converted to any other use. Because I don't know about your neighborhoods, but my neighborhood, people are converting their garages into bedrooms. The person across from me has 10 cars and 14 people living in a 4-bedroom house. And there's virtually nothing the city can do about it. We have been talking to Gwinnett DOT over the course of the last at least 6 years that I've been back on council about improvements to Medical Way, which is that short little road that runs between Presidential and the hospital and crosses Tree Lane, getting a traffic circle in there. And also, long-term, we're trying to get the red light moved from behind Target there on Presidential up to Tree Lane. So we'll have faster access from Ronald Reagan directly into the hospital, because we all know when there's an emergency, seconds count. And someone mentioned, oh my Lord, school buses and ambulances don't work together. Well, they do on every road in the state of Georgia every day. Our ambulances travel the exact same roads we do, whether there's a school bus, a MARTA bus, micro transit, and they seem to be able to get along just fine. Is this the greatest thing ever that I ever wanted? No. But there's been a lot of thought and work that has gone into this to make sure that the rear facades on these buildings where they'll be seen by the public are not just the back of a house. They will have architectural design just as the front to make it a better community. One thing that came up was the schools. Friday before last, I was lucky enough to be the mayor for a day over at the Mayor's Cup game between South and Brookwood. And both principals separately informed me that the Board of Education is moving forward with redistricting plans. I've also heard that from elementary school principals. Guess what? There's nobody who lives here right now. There's not going to be a single resident who's going to say, you can't kick my kid out of Brookwood, just like the people of Flowers Crossing have done the last 2 times they've tried to redistrict. So, if this is to go through, there's a very good possibility that these students won't end up at Brookwood or the elementary schools and middle schools in that cluster. That is up to us as a community to make sure that our Board of Education understands our needs, wants, and desires. Again, this is not my favorite thing to see here, but I believe it will probably pass.
Excuse me, we are still in the middle of this. If you are exiting, please do so quietly. Thank you. Okay. Any other council members that wish to speak?
Yes,
I will call-
if I could just take a minute.
Certainly.
I won't take much time now because I primarily wanted to address all those folks that have walked out of the room. But I did want to say that I had listened very carefully to their concerns about traffic, about schools, about access to the hospital. And I wish sometimes we could deny something because of traffic or schools, but as Mayor Bender explained, that would likely be overturned by a court, and we would have to publicly defend that, and that would cost a lot of taxpayer money to do so. Being the parent of two daughters that have gone through Brookwood schools, I really, really appreciate the quality of education they received there. And I certainly understand parents that are worried about overcrowding. Also being someone that travels Snellville streets every day, I understand traffic and how frustrating it can be. But as has been explained, those are not concerns that we need to look at when evaluating a rezoning like this. And so I just wanted those folks that walked out to know that I had listened very, very carefully and appreciate their attending and expressing the concerns that they had.
Thank you, Councilmember. With that, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor. Any opposed? None opposed. The rezoning passes. If you wish to leave, we do still have additional business to handle, so I'd ask you please just to go ahead and step out. Okay, moving on. We have one item under the consent agenda. We have item A, approval of the opioid settlement agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We have nothing under old business. Under new business, we have one item, two items. Item A, consideration and action on approval of contract for City Hall roof repairs. Matt, do you want to say anything about that?
Our roof at City Hall has reached its useful life and we need to replace it. And so this is a contract to replace that roof with Parker Young.
I think it's a sign for me to that I've been here too long, because I cut the ribbon on this building and the roof is now at its full life. So I'm wondering what that's saying about me.
Madam Mayor, that says that you were on a council that cut corners when they built this building.
What? Okay, so we have a contract for City Hall roof repairs. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the contract for the City Hall roof repairs with Parker Young Construction for the amount of $386,266.70, and to authorize the mayor to sign and execute the contract.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, any comments by council? Then I will call for the vote. All in favor, raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Then we have item B, consideration and action on approval of the memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources for funding for the community center. This is just the initial step for us to be able to then work with Georgia Municipal Association through their loan program. We're anticipating getting some short-term funding for the community center.
Mayor Bender, I'm sorry, may I interrupt you?
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. May I offer a correction?
I will let Matt Pepper give us an update here.
So this is an MOU between the city and, as the mayor mentioned, Department of Natural Resources. The state legislature awarded the city $100,000 in funding that is reimbursable for the building of our community center at Briscoe Park. So in order for us to submit for that reimbursing, we have to approve this MOU between us and DNR.
Thank you. Sorry, got off track there. Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the MOU with the Georgia DNR for funding for the community center in the amount of $100,000.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I got Gretchen on the second with a motion and a second. I apologize for giving you all the wrong. I'm jet lagged. We just got back from Linden on Saturdays and I'm I'm feeling it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there, I will call for the vote. All in favor, raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We are very excited and are very appreciative to the state of Georgia and our representative, Shagun Adina. He put in the request for the city to receive some funding from the state of Georgia out of the state budget, which we didn't even think was a thing. But they did approve to give us $100,000 towards the community center. So we're very appreciative of him and his efforts, and the whole Gwinnett delegation who supported that as well. With that, we are done with our regular business meeting, so we'll move to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening to everyone. I'd just like to make one comment and weigh in on things that have evolved today. I put a post out on Facebook last week about the difficult decisions that people up here on council and the mayor have to make from time to time. Those decisions are based on law. L-A-W, they're based on law. And that's what we have to consider and weigh that against the public interest. We cannot violate the law just to satisfy the will of the people. First of all, it's totally irresponsible to do that, because some people will say, well, if it's the people say that they want this, then go with what the people say, and if the government sues us, then we'll fight it in court. Well, that's your tax money that gets wasted for an irresponsible decision by council and the mayor. That is why we do the best we can to obey the law, to avoid that waste of your time and your taxpayer money. Just want to throw that out there. As most of you may know, there is never any money, I regret, in our budget for city council members to mail to you information about the goings-on in our government. A lot of what we do must be searched for on the city's website or viewed on our city council broadcast. In reality, many people my age, and I'm older than most of you in here, are not familiar with communicating via the internet. That's a reality. It is for this reason I personally have engaged in a limited amount of mailings that I can afford to send to members of our community in hopes that they will share that information with their neighbors. Because of this, I want to personally thank Mrs. Rose Purdy and Mrs. Betty Ann Kuhlman. These unheralded public servants have shared my mailings with members of their communities. That is the type of dedication to community that we need more of, and I thank you ladies, and also Mrs. Nash and Mr. and Mrs. Morgan from the Summit Chase subdivision, as sharers of information and helping me and other council members to keep our community informed. 2 weeks ago, the mayor and members of council were invited to the Old Hickory Village HOA meeting. This is a meeting with city leaders that they schedule every year. In case you missed the operative word, the operative word is invited. We do not impose ourselves. We respond to invitations. If we have not visited your community, it is likely because you or your community leader have not invited us. In the past year, I have been invited to community meetings at Evermore Senior Village, Old Hickory Village, Newton's Crest Homeowners Association, and Summit Chase Neighbors twice. My first council meeting after I was elected, I asked all of you to invite me and other council members to your community meetings. If we have not been to to your community is because we were not invited. Town Green Revitalization Committee. 5 members are on that committee now, and I am chair of that committee. In short, all of us have a great concern for the condition of our town green. Some repairs have already been instituted by our Director of Public Works, David Mitchell. We are formulating long-term plans for the town green. But you must understand that our goal is to establish a realistic plan that is both cost-effective and, most of all, sustainable. I will keep you and our city manager, informed of our progress, and we will be meeting at least bi-weekly and sometimes weekly. Let me mention the Snellville Youth Council for a minute. Sorry, it's going too long. I attended the Snellville Youth Council meeting this weekend. I'm telling you, I was sincerely impressed by these youngsters. They are the jewels of Snellville. They're the jewels of Snellville. These young people ask that as many of you as possible will show up next week when they are sworn in as members of the Snellville Youth Council. There's always a lot of people looking for wrong things in our young people, but we seldom have the energy or the time to support our young people. I'm telling you, these young people are worthy of our support. They're worthy of your presence. They're worthy of your applause. And I hope that all of you are here on the 22nd as we celebrate and swear in members of our Snellville Youth Council. Thank you very much, and I thank you for coming.
Thank you, Norman. Councilmember Hetherington.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Once again, at least for me personally, criminals with guns have hit a little too close to home. I have a college friend whose son-in-law is a police officer in Stafford, Texas. Labor Day weekend, they had a shootout, and her son-in-law was shot in the abdomen, and the only reason he is still alive is because he was wearing a radio, and it took the bullet, so that saved his life. So I just want to take this opportunity publicly in front of our community, our citizens, my fellow council members, and Officer Tanner on behalf of SPD and Chief Perry to just reaffirm my commitment to doing whatever it takes to equip and educate and protect our police department that keeps us safe and that works so hard to do that. We appreciate you guys. I also attended, I promised Christy I would be brief, but Norman got to talk about it, so I will too. The SYC meeting on Saturday. Those kids are amazing, but Christy and Todd both spoke to those kids after Christy had me introduce myself, so I couldn't affirm what they were saying. They both addressed to the kids that have been in SYC in years past that it is their time to reach back to these new students and teach them how things work, to guide them, to mentor them themselves, that it's not just the adults. And Todd and Christy have both walked what they talk. A lot of the education that I have and what I know about how to be a council member comes from sitting in between them and sitting amongst them for many years. I've learned a lot from both of them. So thank y'all, both of y'all, for that. And then I promised Kelly, we got a couple events coming up soon. September 13th, Saturday, September 13th, 4 to 8 p.m. out here on the Town Green, International Taste of Snellville. Lots of food from lots of different places. It's going to be great. September 18th, we've got Tunes in the Grove, free music with Ignatius, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at geography, Ignatius Hines at the Grove. And then September 20th, we've got 2 events. 12 to 5 on the Town Green is the Latin Fest. Lots more food, more music, more fun. And then that evening, 6 to 9 p.m., Guardians of the Jukebox will be playing out on the Town Green. I will be out there. It's going to be a blast. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Carrie. Councilmember Linsky.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Norman Carter for agreeing to be a mentor to the Snellville Youth Council. students. We divided them all up into some small groups, and he did an excellent job. Miss Rochelle Brown was another mentor, so she, of course, is going to be in a slightly larger capacity with Snellville Youth Council as well as the city soon. The students are looking forward to hosting an October 11th event. I have not reached out to all of the candidates yet, but I see several of them here. We are planning to do a candidate forum to meet the individuals who are running for office for the city of Snellville. So I expect an email in the next few days from me, and hopefully you will be interested in participating. The students are amazing. We have 32 students this year. 22 of them are new to the program, so 10 veterans. Our student mayor has been sworn in already, and all of the students will be here on the 22nd, as Norman said, to take the oath. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be an exciting time for them, almost as fun as graduating from high school. So maybe they're really, really looking forward to it. Monday Night Football is tonight, so go Bears, and I'll end with that.
7-3, they're winning. 7-3, they're winning.
And now we'll move to Councilmember Schultz.
Just some brief comments about a project that's been near and dear to my heart since 2013, and that is the community garden. They had their annual fall plant sale this past Saturday at the Snellville Farmers Market, and they had a very, very good sale, but they still have a little bit of inventory left, and they really always like to clear out the greenhouse as much as they possibly can. So they will be at the community garden tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning from 9 to 11:30. They'll have plants for sale for $2 for a 4-pack, which is a bargain you won't get anywhere else. And it's cash only. They will have cool season vegetable plants such as broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, collards, kale, lettuce. And then I saw they have something that I'd never heard of before. Maybe you all have. It's called sneezeweed. I had to Google it, and it's a beautiful perennial wildflower. So I'm thinking I may go try to get some of those tomorrow. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gretchen, and Mayor Pro Tem Warner.
When I was growing up, sneezeweed was called goldenrod, and it still makes me sneeze. Have to apologize to former Councilman Joe Anderson. I did not mean to say that y'all cheaped out on the building. I'm amazed.
I wasn't on that council.
Oh.
We met across the street in the Leaky building.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm amazed that y'all were able to, with the funds available, get this glorious building that we are blessed to have, and the citizens. I noticed you moved out of town, so you didn't have to pay for it, but that's all right. We'll get you somehow. Last week, we had the first meeting of the Town Green Committee, which I'm lucky enough to be on with Norman Carter. And that came about because the 2 Saturdays before, I was out there at the farmer's market and noticed there was a 2-inch difference between the pavement and the grass, the soil that you walked into, and that's unacceptable. So I went and got some granite sand and my wheelbarrow and took care of the problem, because just like every other member of this This council, when we see an issue, we address it. We don't just talk about it. We don't just push it off on somebody else. And I have been blessed to serve with some really fabulous people throughout the years, but they're, oh, yes, you're welcome. But y'all are absolutely second to none, and I appreciate it. I either have 3 meetings left or I'll be reelected. After tonight's vote, I think it'll be an uphill climb, but that's part of the job. Part of the job is making tough decisions that aren't necessarily in your best interest. They're in the city's best interest. They're in the future's best interest. And we work very, very hard to take care of problems before y'all ever even see them. Again, talking to principals, talking to GDOT and Gwinnett DOT, trying to get things done, like the roundabout that's being put in at Mountain View and Oak. That was a fight for 5 years, but we got it. Road improvements, the road improvement on 81 at Ridgedale. It's not in the city. It was a state project, but it came about because we pushed for it because traffic was backing up. Right now, we're dealing with so many traffic issues, and we have the ability to very shortly look at the information from our flock cameras that we have around the city, around the county, and see where traffic's actually coming from and going to, so we will be able to more intelligently solve the problems, adjust the lights, take care of some of the issues that have been plaguing all of us. So I look forward to making things better if given the chance. If not, I'll do my best job for the next 3 weeks that I possibly can. I commend Ms. Linsky for her work with the Snellville Youth Commission. They are second to none, and I'm always amazed when I get to meet with them. I took the new members on a tour of this great city hall and bored them to death. So they have been initiated, and good luck if they come back. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Todd. And I would, just a couple quick comments. At the end of September, on the 30th, the county, along with Evermore CID, will be cutting a ribbon on a parallel road that runs along Highway 78, and I can't remember off the top of my head exactly from where to where, but it's somewhere around like High Point. They've been working on this parallel road for a long, long time, and it will eventually get you from, it starts at just right around High Point Road, goes Walton Court, and then it will go all the way down to across Killian Hill Road. Part of that stretch is already done, Paxton Lane, down by the Home Depot, gets behind you, the Home Depot, to the Harley-Davidson place, and then comes back out onto Highway 78. So there will be a ribbon cut on that next phase that is being completed now. That's on September 30th at 11 a.m. I don't have details on exactly where they're going to do it yet, but that'll be, you could watch the Evermore CID website, and I'm sure Mr. Brooks will put it up there. And, you know, just in talking about traffic, we do have a really great relationship with our, with the Gwinnett DOT. We meet with them regularly, every few months or so, and we talk about current issues that we know we're having, pain points, and we've gotten a lot of things accomplished through those meetings. And sometimes it's just as simple as adjusting a turn signal, the length of time for a green light, at certain times of the day, and they've been very responsive, and you know, and just working to figure out solutions to the problems of traffic and trying to move people through. through the area. I mean, it's Metro Atlanta, right? We're all part of Metro now. We're not that suburban community that we used to be. And it's going to be something that continues for a long time. And, you know, with the housing development that was approved for tonight, again, these are hard decisions that we make up here. We all know there's a national housing crisis. It's across the country. You can watch the news every night, and they're talking about not enough homes, not enough affordable homes, and I mean, it just goes on and on. Interest rates are up right now. You know, it's been my thought that people do need homes. A lot of people are moving to this area. We don't necessarily need to be responsible to build a house for every single one of them right here. But we also do, again, we have to weigh out, you know, that balance. Do we want, like in that development that was approved tonight, do we want a commercial, something there that's really going to drive even more car trips and traffic than the townhomes? I mean, I think out of some of the other things that have been suggested or being, you know, trying to be sold, again, under the commercial zoning that it currently has, that we wouldn't have had any say on, it would have driven a whole lot more traffic and congestion in that area than what was approved for tonight. So I will leave it at that, because I know I'm rambling. We need to get out of here. So I will close the mayor's report, and I will open the floor to public comment. Anyone may come forward, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes on one topic, please.
Hi, Betty Incuman, 2155 Woodbury Run Drive. I just want to thank all of you for your service, along with Jason and Planning Committee. None of these decisions are easy. As an older one who's made many trips around the sun, I sit back and look, and the people who complain the most and the loudest have, number one, never been to a meeting, number two, never read any of the zoning laws and the ordinances that you have to abide by being a servant of the city, and number three, have never volunteered to serve or help in any way. It's always been my belief that if my child was involved in a group, or I wanted to be part of a activity, that I needed to step forward and do my share. And if I saw things that I didn't agree with, then voice my concerns, but yet in the end, you have to accept the ruling that comes. So I truly appreciate all your service, and thank you for the hard decisions that you make on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Good evening again. It's my night. Marlene Tillman, again, 1977 Tanglewood Drive. I would like to see, well, first of all, I want to correct the record for Council Member Warner. The schools are not being redistricted. Your principals have it wrong. As someone who follows the school system and has for 20 years, I can tell you they had a brief discussion at the last school board meeting, and the acting superintendent said then, we're not about to go into that. We're going to do the schools that we are opening a new building for. So rest assured, they're going to be at Brookwood. But anyway, I digress. I would like to see a city ordinance requiring shopping centers and plazas to regularly empty their cans and clean their parking lots. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten out and had trash blow around my feet. Let's talk about Dollar Tree on Scenic Highway. Let's talk about the Walmart neighborhood market that I live down the street from. Don't really like it, but it is what it is. And so I think that would be useful. If we're going to talk about quality of life, that would be a huge quality of life. Frequently, the Dollar Tree can is overflowing, blowing across the parking lot. It's ridiculous. But I see it in other places as well. I'm also very disappointed that the millage rate hearings weren't better publicized. Electronic signs are used to publicize events. Those same signs can be used to publicize important public hearings. I also don't like being told that I'm going to pay for trash without any real notice or details around how we got to that decision. So that's it. So far as the volunteer comment, I do believe people should get involved and get engaged. I'm not the person you really want me to get engaged with. Like I said, I'm still engaged with that school system. My kids graduated 16 years ago. Okay, so, but I will get engaged, and I think my vote gives me my voice. And if you want that, you'll hear me anytime I show up. Thank you.
Absolutely, we will. Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will close the public comment and entertain a motion to adjourn. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We are done. Thank you all for coming out tonight.